The Silk Road, one of the most significant trade networks in history, was a vast system of interconnected routes that facilitated the exchange of goods, culture, and ideas across continents. It spanned over 4,000 miles, linking East Asia to the Mediterranean, passing through Central Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe. The story of the Silk Road is not just a tale of trade, but of the connections that bridged distant civilizations, brought about technological innovations, and shaped the development of entire cultures. In this video, we will explore the history of the Silk Road, from its origins to its profound impact on the civilizations it connected. The roots of the Silk Road trace back to the Han Dynasty in China around the 2nd century BCE. Prior to the establishment of these trade routes, people across the vast expanse of Asia lived in isolation from one another. There was no direct contact between the rich civilizations of the East and the Mediterranean world, though indirect contact was possible through small, fragmented trade routes. The ancient Chinese, for instance, had long enjoyed a monopoly on silk, an exquisite fabric that was coveted by the aristocracy of distant lands. However, in the early years of the Han Dynasty, China sought to expand its influence and open up to the outside world. The man credited with opening up the Silk Road is Zhang Qian, a Chinese explorer and diplomat. In the 2nd century BCE, he was sent by the Han Emperor Wu to the western regions in search of allies against the Xiongnu, a nomadic people who posed a threat to China's northern borders. Though Zhang Qian's mission failed in its original intent, he spent over a decade traveling through Central Asia and the Iranian Plateau, forging the first links between China and the cultures of Central Asia. His reports of the kingdoms and peoples he encountered were invaluable in understanding the vast world beyond China's borders, and they mark the beginning of a long era of cultural and commercial exchange. During the 1st and 2nd centuries BCE, the Han Dynasty established a series of trade outposts along the western edges of China, near the Taklamakan Desert and the fertile regions of Central Asia. This allowed merchants and travelers to safely navigate through the harsh environments and connect China to other major empires and trade routes. Goods such as silk, paper, porcelain, tea, and spices were carried westward, while horses, precious metals, wool, glass, and other goods from the Mediterranean, Persia, and India traveled eastward. The route stretched through the vast, rugged terrain of Central Asia, passing through cities that became major cultural and commercial hubs. One of the most important was the city of Samarkand, located in present-day Uzbekistan. Samarkand was a central point for the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. It was here that Chinese silk was traded for the prized horses of the Central Asian steppes, and Indian spices were exchanged for Persian glassware and Roman coins. Samarkand, along with other cities such as Bukhara and Merv, became symbols of the cross-cultural exchange that took place along the Silk Road. In the 1st century CE, the Roman Empire, situated on the western end of the Silk Road, began to establish its own contact with the East. The Romans had a great demand for luxury goods, particularly silk, which was a symbol of wealth and prestige among the Roman elite. Roman merchants and traders sought to establish direct contact with the East, and during the reign of Emperor Augustus, the Romans established a series of diplomatic and trade links with the Parthian Empire, the dominant power in the region between the Roman Empire and China. Through the Parthians, Roman goods, including wine, glass, and olive oil, made their way into Central Asia and the Far East. But the Silk Road was not just a route for material goods. It was also a conduit for the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and culture. One of the most significant aspects of the Silk Road was its role in the spread of religions. Buddhism, which originated in India, spread to Central Asia and China through the trade routes, with merchants and monks bringing Buddhist teachings along with goods. The spread of Buddhism reached its zenith during the Tang Dynasty in China, when China became one of the leading centers of Buddhist thought. At the same time, Islam also spread westward from the Arabian Peninsula into Central Asia, Persia, and India, further enriching the diverse cultures along the Silk Road. One of the key factors that made the Silk Road such a successful network of exchange was the cultural and linguistic diversity of the people who traveled it. The merchants who traversed the Silk Road came from a wide range of backgrounds: Chinese, Persians, Arabs, Indians, Greeks, Romans, and many others. The lingua franca of the Silk Road was often a form of Aramaic or other regional languages, but the common thread among all these cultures was trade. It was not just goods that were exchanged, but also customs, philosophies, and technologies. The technological exchange that occurred along the Silk Road was also remarkable. One of the most famous examples is the transfer of paper-making technology from China to the West. In the 8th century, when Chinese paper was first introduced to the Islamic world, it revolutionized communication and scholarship. The Islamic world, in turn, made significant advancements in science, medicine, and mathematics, many of which would later influence Renaissance Europe. In addition to paper, the Silk Road facilitated the spread of other important inventions, such as gunpowder, the compass, and printing. These technologies would have profound impacts on warfare, navigation, and communication across the globe. Through the Silk Road, ideas and technologies from the East found their way to Europe and vice versa, creating a rich exchange of knowledge that would help to shape the course of history. The height of the Silk Road's prosperity occurred during the Tang and Yuan dynasties in China and the Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East. The Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his successors, provided a brief period of stability and safety along the trade routes during the 13th and 14th centuries. The Pax Mongolica, or Mongol Peace, helped to facilitate the free movement of goods and people across the Eurasian continent, allowing for a cultural renaissance in many regions. The famous Venetian explorer Marco Polo journeyed along the Silk Road during this period, and his accounts of the East sparked a fascination with Asian cultures in Europe. However, by the 15th century, the Silk Road began to decline. Several factors contributed to this, including the rise of maritime trade routes, the spread of the Black Death across Europe and Asia, and the fall of the Mongol Empire. New oceanic trade routes to India and the Americas eventually supplanted the overland routes, leading to the decline of the Silk Road as the dominant network of trade. Though the Silk Road's commercial activity diminished over time, its cultural and historical legacy remains vast. The exchanges of goods, technologies, and ideas helped shape the development of numerous civilizations and continue to influence the world today. The Silk Road laid the foundation for modern globalization, demonstrating how interconnected our world has been for centuries. In conclusion, the history of the Silk Road is a testament to the power of trade and cultural exchange in shaping human history. From its humble beginnings as a diplomatic mission of the Han Dynasty to its role as a bridge between the East and West, the Silk Road connected civilizations across continents, influencing everything from art and philosophy to religion and technology. Its legacy continues to inspire the way we think about the interconnectedness of our globalized world. The Silk Road was not just a trade route, it was a symbol of human curiosity, innovation, and collaboration, a journey of discovery that transcended borders and brought people together across time and space.